Before we start this video, a large thank you to Chris, Godnor, Stormy Blue, Jeremiah Evans, and Pumpkin Keeper for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And as always, a massive thank you to Halo Burner and Ryan Bellin for their immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is sincerely appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everybody, let's just scroll up here for a second. I am on the character stats manager right now. And today we're going to make it so we add the actual effects of Frostbite from Elden Ring to our project. So what are those effects going to be? Well, first we need to figure out a way to edit our stamina regeneration. So right here we have a stamina regeneration amount. I'm going to rename this to base stamina regeneration amount because when you're frostbitten, you regenerate stamina slower. So we're going to do that. We're going to set the stamina to 0 when we're frostbitten, then we're going to do some damage. Also, someone pointed out a long time ago that there's actually no stamina regeneration delay in Elden Ring, and I forgot to take it out. This was a very long time ago. So I'm going to remove that right now because it is not a thing that's in Elden Ring. There's no delay. It's only you can't regenerate while you're doing an action that doesn't allow it to do so. You can keep the delay in if you want. It does definitely add a sense of stamina management and makes the game more difficult, but since this is a tutorial series based in Elden Ring, I am going to remove it. Also, we can now do a check right here for a couple more things. First, let's just take this base stamina regeneration amount and let's make a variable right below that, private float, non-serializable. Call it stamina regeneration amount and initialize it at 0. So basically, this is going to be calculated depending on your base stamina regeneration amount and the modifier applied to it. So it will take what the base is and then it'll do some math. And we're going to do the math by saying stamina regen equals base stamina regen plus brackets base stamina regeneration amount times character network manager stamina regeneration modifier. Now this doesn't exist yet, and then we're going to divide that by 100 and make sure the multiplication is within some brackets as well. And we're going to divide it just like this, and there we go. So this is how we're going to calculate our stamina regeneration amount. Now we can also just copy this and remove this, and we can just say if we're at max stamina, we can return. So if the current stamina dot value is greater than or equal to the max stamina dot value, simply return. Looks a bit neater. And we added this a long time before we added block, I believe, and I didn't come back and add this, but you can make a check to see if your character is blocking, because in Elden Ring and Dark Souls, I believe if you are blocking, like you're holding your shield up, your stamina actually regenerates slower, and that's to punish you for, I guess, blocking too much, which makes sense. I like that. So we're going to do a check here and say if you are blocking, we're just going to make whatever the value is 20% of itself. So your stamina only regenerates at 20% capacity. If you're blocking, this number is a bit harsh. You can change it if you want. I'm just throwing a random number in there. And again, you should make a variable for this if you're sure you're going to change it a few times in testing. Don't make it a magic number. I'm just throwing a number in because I'm not going to balance this or test it. I'm just showing you how the functionality works. So let's go into our character network manager and let's copy one of the variables here and paste it. And under stat modifiers, I'm going to call this stamina regeneration modifier. I know I'm moving very fast, so feel free to pause this or slow down if you don't know what's happening. Just trying to get as much as I can in this video because we're going to do, I want to get 3 things done if possible. So let's go back here now and put in that variable and save it. And it's going to complain here, we have a reset stamina timer. We actually don't need this anymore, this whole function, so find where it is and delete it, unless you're keeping it. Like I said, it is a cool feature, and if you want to make stamina more punishing, definitely keep it. I'm going to take it out because this is a tutorial series based in Elden Ring. So removed and save. Now I'm going to go back into the project, go over to my effects folder, go to timed effects, and make a new script. And I'm going to call this, so this can be used for a bunch of things, not just negative effects. So I'll call it modify stamina regeneration for a time effect. So let's say you have an item that you eat, like that buffs you. You could apply one of these effects and boost your stamina regeneration for a time. Or in our case, frostbite will negatively impact it for a time. So I'm going to drop my namespace, delete the start and update functionality as a provision. I'm going to make this set from timed character effect. And I'm going to create an asset menu up here. I'm going to say this is equal to menu name is equal to, and we're going to do our character effects / timed effects / yada yada yada, and then we can call this regenerate stamina. So it's going to be character effects, timed effects, modify stat, and then we can say stamina regeneration. All right, very cool. Nice. Now inside here, let's do the usual and call the override for the processes and remove effect, but also we're going to need 2 variables here, I believe. We're going to need effect has been initialized, And we're going to need to check my notes here, the actual amount that you will actually want to impact the regeneration amount. So this is by percentage. Keep that in mind the way I have it set up. So 10 would be 10%, 20 would be 20%, etc. And this does work in the negative values as well, which is what we're going to use it for. So either way it will work. And it's set so that you can have multiple of these at the same time, obviously, as long as they have different IDs, and it'll be totally fine. So stamina regeneration percentage modifier, I'm just going to say defaultly is 15, but we're going to make it negative for our case, which is default. And header effect process, just make it up here so it looks a bit neater. I'm going to put this below the regeneration just because. All right. Now we call override process character effect, or process effect, sorry, and then we call override remove effect. Looks good. And now we can start doing some logic. So what do we want to do? Well, if the effect has not been processed, we want to do some logic. I don't like the new autofill for the new Visual Studio. It oftentimes gets things in the way, and it's kind of doing me dirty here with the for loops and the if statements. Anyway, if the effect has not been initialized, if you want to, here's a place where you can toggle some kind of UI icon if you desire. And this could be on the character HP bar, or if you're the owner, it could be on your player UI. Entirely up to you. So, you know that HP bar that pops up over someone's head and you damage them, you can make an icon for this if you want, put it over there. Then we're going to say character effect has been initialized equal to true. Okay, I'm just going to make a little comment here to make it more clear. So this can be on the character HP bar, or if you're the owner on the HUD. And then we can say character, just make sure you initialize the effect as being true above the if owner statement if you're doing that. I'm going to say character network manager stamina regeneration modifier value plus equals, and then we're going to say stamina regeneration percentage modifier right here. So when we remove the effect, we have to do the same thing, check if it was initialized, because if it wasn't, it means you never added this to your modifier, and you don't want to subtract it if it was never added. And if it has been initialized, we just want to basically remove the UI icon if you're going to do that, if you added some form of UI element to let the person know they've been affected by this. And then we're just going to say if we're not the owner, return. Again, you don't need to do the owner check if you're not sending these on any kind of RPC, but I'm doing it just in case you are. Then we're going to do minus equals the regeneration amount, and there you go. So this still works because if you have a negative value, it'll just add it back basically. If you have a negative or a positive value, it subtracts it. So now we go to our effects, time effects, and then we create this effect. And I'm going to make only one for now, and it will be specifically for the frostbite effect. So I'm going to call it stamina regeneration, or modify stamina regeneration. And then I'm going to call it brackets frostbite. So I know that this one specifically is for our frostbite effect. And I'm going to initialize this at, or make it huge so we can see the difference, negative 80%. So default time is going to be 60, and time remaining in effect will be 60. All right, don't forget to add it to your timed effects list. Otherwise, it won't generate an ID. If you're ever searching for it by ID, you won't be able to find it. So there we go. Okay, now we're going to need to also have this as a variable here because we need to reference it directly, specifically the frostbite version. So I'm going to make a header here first. I'm going to say frostbite. And then I'm going to make a public modify stamina regeneration for a time variable. And you can just call this whatever you want so it's clear to you. I'm just going to call it frostbite stamina regeneration. We'll call it effect, actually. There we go, because we use the keyword effect with all of these. Okay, let's go and save this and drop this in real quick. There we go. And now we need to go to our frostbite effect itself. And we have our old comments here, as you can see. So option 1 here, create an additional effect here that modifies the player's stamina regeneration. So that's done. So we can do that real quick. We need to first copy the same style as our other effect, make a bool for effect has been processed. This isn't always the case with timed effects, but for a lot of them it is. Or effect has been initialized, rather. And if it has not been initialized, then we know we need to generate that stamina regeneration effect. So I'm going to make a private void down here for, we'll say inflict stamina regeneration debuff. Let's make it require a character manager, call it character. And now inside here, we can simply, actually just call this function here first. And now, here's where you want to do all the stuff. So we're going to do the stamina regeneration debuff. We're also going to set their stamina to 0, and we could maybe do a health effect as well, where we take off a little bit of their health. So we're going to say modify stamina regeneration for a time. Call that stamina debuff is equal to instantiate Don't forget that part, it's important. World character effects manager .instance .frostbite stamina regeneration effect. So if you don't instantiate it, that's bad because it will treat the scriptable as a global object and it will modify it in real time. Like it'll change the default time, the effect, etc. So now, or the time remaining, sorry. So now we're going to do character.character effects manager .add timed effect is stamina debuff. Okay, cool. Optionally, set stamina to 0. Let's do that. I'm going to make a check here if the character is owner. Again, if you're doing it the way it is in the tutorial, you'll never come to this check anyway, it doesn't matter. But if you have it set up so you're running effects on both ends via RPCs, this will be handy. Character.character network manager.current stamina.value is equal to 0. Cool. And now we can, I'm just going to move this up a little bit here. Delete this and put it right there. Cool. Now I'm going to do the damaging the character as well. And we've already actually set this up before with our blood loss effect. And we can do it the exact same way. And we're going to call this HP percentage damage up here on this header, or whatever makes most sense to you. But basically this value is going to be indicative of a percentage of total life you take away from the player based on their total life. So if it was 10, then 10% of the player's total life is going to be lost. So I'll put it at 10. And we do handle this with the bleed effect. And you can see it with the poison effect, though. We go to this effect called process poison damage. Now, why is this important? Well, we could use this for all effects, because if we're damaging our target by modifying the HP, so let's just change this to process effect damage, we have to check for if we're currently being critically damaged before we play a death animation. So instead of doing this again and making a different function for our frostbite, let's just rename this process effect damage, and we can call this on our frostbite effect as well. So I'm going to copy this here now and go back to my frostbite effect. And now to get the equation of how we do this based on our character's total health, we can actually check our blood loss effect for this. So first off, we can just say if the character is not the owner return, because we're going to do another bit of logic here that modifies a network variable. So we're going to say character.character effects manager.process effect damage, and we don't have a number for that yet, but let's just call this here because I had it copied and ready to paste. And let's just get rid of this other owner check because, again, make the code a little bit neater. Okay, so float total damage dealt to player is equal to, and if I were to jump over here real quick, let's just copy this percentage of life lost. I'm going to go to my blood loss effect. And you can see here, calculate damage. And we do the exact same thing here, basically. So we can just reuse this and yoink it. So I'm going to copy all this right here on our calculate damage. I'm going to jump back over to my frostbite effect, and I'm just going to paste it. And whoops, I accidentally erased my variable. So we're going to say float damage. And again, we don't need to do plus equals for the total amount. That was only a blood loss thing, but if you want to, you can. So you could do a percentage of total life plus a flat value. I'm not going to do that though. So this is just going to be a flat, or sorry, a percentage of total life. And then I pass the damage, but I have to use mathf dot round to int. Now, thinking back on this as well, you could have also used that process effect damage on your blood loss effect. So if you want to go back and edit that, you totally can. And that will kind of just make it so all this logic that applies a similar effect is being called from the same area, because we're just basically not handling the damage in a standard take damage effect. So we want to make sure we're still playing the animation if we need to when it's over. Or optionally too, you could handle this with a take damage effect, but I don't recommend it because then you'd be sending frequent RPCs with something like poison. So regenerate stamina. I'm going to debug.log stamina regeneration amount, and I'm going to pass my stamina regeneration amount so I can see in real time if I've messed this up. And we're going to test it in just a moment. I just need to do a couple quick more things though. Come back over here under the frostbite effect and make sure you say effect has been initialized equals true. Otherwise, you'll keep resetting the stamina to 0 and potentially damaging your character. Okay, let's save that. And I am just going to, actually I'm going to get rid of these comments now. They're not needed. We've done everything here. You can keep them here if you're unsure what's happening, but I'm going to erase it for now. Now, if I go into the project here, you can see my character is here, and I'm going to swing, and that's my stamina. You can see it regenerates at 2 per tick, which is cool. So it goes up pretty fast. Now, if I apply frostbite, boom, I'm frostbitten. My health has subtracted. You can see that there. I don't know if you can see it because the background's kind of dark. I'll move the camera. There you go. I have lost a bit of my health. Now, if I swing my weapon, you can see too the stamina regeneration goes down to 0.4. Perfect. Alright guys, there you have it. We have the Elden Ring frostbite portion done, where you can actually lose all your stamina and your regeneration goes back slower. So what we are going to do next though by Patreon request is someone wanted me to cover the freeze mechanics I do in Nephilim, where the character actually freezes and turns into like an ice statue, and then they can be unfrozen by being hit. So we will cover that in the next video because a few people did want to see that as well. And then we'll move on to something else. As always, I hope you all have a very lovely weekend. Thank you so much to the people who take the time to like and comment on the video and share via word of mouth, all that good stuff. And a special thank you to my patrons. It is because of you the series can continue at all. You have my sincerest gratitude. Have a lovely weekend.